listening to Stories from Real Life, a podcast by engaging storytellers for engaged story listeners. Here's your host, author and journalist, Melvin E. Edwards. Hello, and welcome to this April 30th episode of Stories from Real Life. I'm your host, Melvin E. Edwards, and my guests today are three members of a Maryland family who are some of my favorite people. Pull up a chair and discover for yourself another example of what makes everyday people the most fascinating people. These are the stories from real life. Our topic today is academics and athletics. How does a family navigate through the recruitment maze? And what are the parents' roles now that college athletics and the rules are changing faster than ever? I'm joined on this episode by Dexter and Maneka Monk and their high school-age son, Dixon Monk. I'm excited to have you guys here. Dexter, Maneka, and Dixon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure to be here, Melvin.
Maneka and I worked together for over 15 years, and I've literally known Dixon since his birth. And I'm proud to see all that he has accomplished, but knowing his parents, I'm not the least bit surprised. Dexter Monk is a senior systems analyst and programmer at Howard University Hospital, and Maneka Monk is the communications manager at Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Dixon Monk is a high school scholar athlete in Maryland. I first want to give a shout out to my friend Gene Bowles, who helped me put together this list of questions. Gene was my son's high school coach and his American Legion baseball coach in Annapolis, and helped him get recruited by a great college in Pennsylvania. Dixon is currently a high school junior and is already committed to play Division I baseball at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., where the acceptance rate is 12%. That means 88 out of every 100 students who apply are rejected. Dixon, my first question will be for you. But before I ask the question, I want to say congratulations to you directly. I'm really proud of you. So how many schools recruited you, and how did you decide to go to Georgetown?
Well, starting with my freshman summer, really had a great summer. I balled out, and my coach really set it up for me well. My coach, Aaron Graves, Sr., there were quite a few schools at all levels my freshman year contacted me through this app called Field Level and through email. And I was really open to whatever at the time because I was ready to play college ball wherever I could because I love the game, I love the sport, and I love everything about it. I really wanted to go to a high academic school because I know not everything could work out with baseball. I could get injured or anything could happen. Life is full of possibilities. So I really just wanted to be able to have a high academic school backing me. And if I have that, I know I can open many doors for myself. Georgetown was just the place for me because I know it has that high academic backing, and I also know it's close to home. And there's no place like home. I love it here. Love D.C. And that's really that went into it. And I know Coach Thompson up there is a great guy. I've met him a couple times. He's just a really great dude.
Okay, that sounds great. So obviously, as I mentioned, with a 12% acceptance rate, Georgetown has very high standards. Obviously, you meet those standards. So I'm curious, what is your current GPA? Go ahead and brag.
Unrated 4.0, but weighted 4.75. Right now, for my English class, I take AP English Lang. For math, I take AP Pre-Calculus. Science, I take chemistry honors, and I got a couple other honors classes I take.
Okay. So you mentioned your one coach who helped you after your freshman year. So how involved were your travel in high school and your other coaches in the process for you?
My head coach at Riverdale, Coach Aaron Graves, has been with me every step of the process. I mean, since I stepped foot and put on a Riverdale uniform, he's been with me contacting schools day in, day out, doing the most for me. Another one of my coaches, Coach Bob, helped me along the way. He left Riverdale last year, but even when his 2 years I was with him, he helped me a lot to contact schools and other things like that. Last summer, I met a coach, a guy named Eric Crozier. He helped me a lot along the way. He introduced me to a high level of baseball at WWBA and just really opened a bunch of doors for me. Another coach I met last summer, my guy, Coach Brad, for the DC Grace. He's a good friend of Coach Thompson and really relayed the message to Coach Thompson up at Georgetown that this is the guy you need to have on your roster.
Nice. All right. So when did it finally begin to make sense to you why your parents emphasized academics so strongly all along the way?
This has been with me since day one. I mean, if I ain't come home with good grades, who knows what'll happen. I see my brother come home with 1C when I was young. I just knew that.
Throwing Junior under the bus.
He knows what happened. So.
Never see again.
But yeah, academics has just always been a big thing from both my parents because they know the struggles of not having high academics, but they both achieve a lot in their lives and have been to big places from their families. My dad going to college from his family was a big thing for him, and my mom as well. So really just trying to strive to, because I know they want me to be better than them, trying to strive to do that has helped me a lot.
Okay. All right. So my next set of questions are for the parents. So you're a black family, and black athletes have tended to shy away from baseball in recent years. I looked up the statistics yesterday and discovered that only 6% of Division I baseball players are African Americans right now. And there are only 12 black NCAA Division I baseball coaches in America, and one of them happens to be at Georgetown University, where Dixon's going. Did that play a part in the recruitment with Coach Edwin Thompson?
I think for me, initially it did not, but once we got into the process, I definitely saw some things that reminded me of why he went to the high school he went to. When we found out, or when I discovered, or when I could see that Dixon could actually play this sport, I wanted the best for him. So, we chose a travel team, Bowie, Maryland, which we knew had the facilities that we wanted as far as the fields, and it would have the coaching that we wanted as far as ex-college players that were now head coaches and things of that caliber. Being a black kid, I don't know if it was that he wasn't welcomed as much, because I think he was welcomed, but the opportunity for him was kind of limited, I thought. I didn't think that the black kids got to explore all the positions. I think they got designated 2 positions. And, that kind of made our decision between him going to DeMatha and him going to Riverdale really come to light. He needed a change of environment. He had already performed very well academically in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. STEM program, great program out there in Edgewater. And we just felt it was time for a change. And then we look at the academics at Riverdale, and we thought it's probably the best place for Dixon.
And so based on his high school situation, which it's a predominantly black coaching staff as well as team, it's an interesting setup, especially coming from his boys club experience. So having this experience right now on a predominantly black team where he's getting high academic support in the classroom and then high athletic development on the field, we didn't think we would have a situation like this ever again because of the numbers you've mentioned as he progresses in the sport. So to have a black coach at the college level wasn't something that played a part in the recruitment, but it definitely is a huge bonus to know that I'm sending my son off to a place where they know what it means to be a black player in baseball, and will develop him and help him to continue to grow. And again, the high academics mattered so much to us. So to be able to combine that and for him to just be 38 minutes away.
Roughly, right?
Is a nice point. But the other thing too I want to say about Coach Thompson and his program at Georgetown is just that they have been with Dixon since his freshman year. I think they've been the most sincere and the most genuine. We know they want the best for him. And so it's just exciting to know that even as a grown man, that he'll be in a position to continue to feel that sort of sense of community that he's getting right now in high school.
Okay, Dexter, I want to follow up with something you just mentioned. You said you noticed that the black players were sort of designated to positions. How old was Dixon when you first started to notice that?
Probably around 7 or 8.
Wow.
It was that you just felt like the the Euro-American coaches were pushing their kids into the positions that highlighted, the infields, the middle infield positions, the first base position. They were pushing their kids and giving them second chances to, even if it came down to something like completing a drill. I felt. So one thing about me, I would sit my chair on the sideline every practice. I felt like I already have a son who might not get the best effort from these coaches. So what I need to do is I need to have my presence there. And so what I noticed that, the way I look at it is this: if I have a black kid who's playing in the outfield, and I just happen to bring him in for infield drills, he messes up on his drill, you don't just dismiss him and make him go get back in line. So they weren't giving those kids a second opportunity to do the drill. However, when it came to their sons, they mess up in the drill, hey, run it again. Mind you, as the coach's son, I'm kind of thinking, you probably did this in the backyard with your kid 12, dozens of times every day, every weekend, whatever it may be. So for this outfielder, this black kid who's playing outfield to come in to do an infield drill, he's really the one that needs that second rep. If he screwed it up, he's the one that needs that extra help, not your son. So small things like that made me take notice that you're not treating everyone fairly. You might not see it, you might not feel it. It might not be something that you've embraced to even know about yourself, but it's definitely happening, and I'm witnessing it. So, those type of things kind of bothered me, and it made me more present.
I think also it's interesting, Melvin, as you brought up the 6% currently of Black Americans in professional baseball right now is that story always comes out right at the beginning of the season when professional ball starts. And unfortunately, I went down the Twitter hole of looking at the responses because, it's going to be interesting, right? I like to see what the responses are of, people will say, well, why does it matter? Or, oh, it's because, and then, they have their own reasons why, which include that Black players are less intelligent, Black American players especially are less intelligent, have less father figures at home. I could go on and on, right? So it's just so interesting to have to, we've been raising someone in this environment for a very long time, right? And it makes you think, oh, what are these people really thinking if he's not getting certain opportunities? And again, it just set us up to make sure that what we thought would be a unique opportunity in high school for him to have that, to have the sort of support to be able to develop freely so that he can really seek his potential and then know what he has so that whatever he starts to experience in college, which again, we did not expect to be what it hopefully will be, or at the pro level, he's prepared for.
Okay, and another thing I want to clarify that you mentioned having a mostly Black team. You are talking about his high school team, not Georgetown University, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Definitely.
Just want to clarify that for the listeners. All right. So again, for this question's for the parents. If Dixon were not an athlete, would you still want him to attend Georgetown
Most definitely. Most definitely. My wife and I, have always said, we have two great sons. And fortunately, both of them are the best of us. The situations in which we grew up, it's way different than how we're raising them. So they're definitely the best of us. Me being an athlete, in high school and college, it's great to have a team. It helps you mature and grow in other ways in your life that you don't see until you stop sports. You're able to get along with people, from different cultures and things like that, people that grew up differently. But academically, I tell Dixon all the time, when it comes to baseball, I'm not your dad. I'm a guy that's looking at the game, who coached kids before, who played sports before. But when it comes to academics, I am your dad all day long. And this is the most important thing for me. Now, I might not stress it every day, but when it comes to report card time, listen, I expect the results because as a family unit, everybody plays a part. And if I'm giving you this part, I expect it to be played to the utmost because I'm going to play my part to the utmost.
Yeah, and well, Dixon wants to be a lawyer, so it doesn't get any better than Georgetown. I would say, unless it's Northwestern, since that's my alma mater. But I'm totally kidding for sure. He works hard in the classroom, so the whole point of him working hard in the classroom and trying to instill that in him, quite frankly, is so that he would have the option. He would be able to choose. We want him to be able to have limitless options and make the decisions for his future. So he's done that as far as I'm concerned. So the aim was always for a high academic institution. Georgetown fits the bill. It's a great fit. And again, only 38 minutes away, which I'm really thankful.
Get to go to every game. Well, every home game anyway.
Yeah, like I didn't think that would be the case. And so it's really exciting.
That's really nice.
That, when we went to the campus, Georgetown presented a lot. Even though it's in D.C., it was just something about it that just made it seem like it's far away, even though it's only 40 minutes away from our home. But the way they have you secluded on that campus, and I mean, hey, looking out at the water towards Virginia, it looks really good, but you don't feel the presence of the city. You feel like I'm away at college. I could be in the middle of nowhere, but they give you that we're here for business. And there's no need to walk outside of these doors or outside of these walls to go and get tested by anything else. Stay right here, learn, and be one of the best citizens you can be academically in America.
All right. So, Maneka, this is directed at you specifically. One of the things that I've always admired about you is your emphasis on making sure that Dixon and your older son, Dexter Jr., were always preparing for the next level. And I learned a lot from you. I just want to say that to you directly. So when did Dixon start taking baseball seriously to make it to the next level?
You're asking me this, but that might be a question for his dad as well.
Okay.
Just because athletically, I definitely feel like Dad's been at the forefront of that part of the development. But in terms of mindset, which is where I think I do come in, is I've just always wanted them to always just try their best. If it was taking out the trash, I want you to do your best at it, because you will have to do it again if you don't do it right. So, I mean, I think where I come in terms of mindset. So if it's something you think you love or like, pursue it with all you got. Why not? You have nothing to lose in doing that. And in doing so, I'm a very competitive individual too, which is, I think, is where that comes from. My husband and I met playing football, so
not on the same team. I want to clarify.
Not on the team. So I think that competitive nature feeds into everything that I do, and have tried to instill in the boys. So again, I think if you don't want to do something again, do it right the first time. That can create almost a perfectionist complex, which I didn't want necessarily in the boys, because nobody can be perfect. But now it's their point as they mature to find the balance of, okay, well, what can I do? What can I push to the limit? Take risks. Know that it's okay to take that risk to fail. In my pursuit of being the best, or being the best that I have to offer. So that's what's been important to me. So I would say at a very early age, he did that. And you want to balance it with fun. So when he was younger, it was so funny because, especially when he was really young, we weren't sure he was that coordinated. We were like, uh-oh. We weren't sure who we were dealing with.
Always rolling his eyes. But Dixon, it's okay. This isn't the first time I've heard this story.
He was like 3, and I was like, uh-oh. And I was a dancer. I was like, oh, man, boy, who am I dealing with? Who is this kid, right? And he was like 3, so seriously. But he was picking up a baseball then. So then by the time he started, right before he started travel ball, so around 6 or so, it was clear that he had talent, to be honest with you. He was playing at a different level already than his teammates who were maybe just learning the sport. I don't know. It was just clear that there was something in him. And so I follow their lead as well, right? If they care about something, okay, then we're going full force. I guess is how I feel about it. So if he switched, I'd be switching with him, but we're going to do it all out. Did you want to add to that about
No.
at an early age?
Okay. So, was there a time that either one of you or Dixon didn't want him to play baseball?
I'm gonna start and then they can jump
Okay.
in, but I don't think there's been a point in time. I just don't want it to ever not be fun or him to forget the fun or to forget the love, right? This sport is very difficult. It's mentally taxing, as are many, especially if you want to perform at a high level. But I don't ever want him to forget the love, right? So even when he's having a really rough day, I need him to say he loves it still. And then I know, right? Okay, it's just a rough day. We can get through this. But if it ever becomes a point where he feels that way, then I would feel that way for him in terms of not wanting to play or having to consider that. Because those rough days can be really rough and make you feel that way. And the sport, as many, if you put all your love into it, sometimes it doesn't love you back the way you want it to. So it doesn't feel like you want to keep going. But a lot of times I do try to remind him to just keep pushing. He's never said that to me, that he didn't want to play. But has there been a time for either of you?
I think that there was like a 2-week period when maybe he was around 10 or 11 where it was a lesson learned for me and for Dixon. The lesson for me was I was using the wrong word, I think, to try to motivate my kid. I used the word lazy, which I shouldn't have used. The word I needed to use was effort. And I think that once I started using that word, it brought him along and it gave us that type of understanding that I'm not here to put you down. Because like I said, when it comes to baseball, I look at you as an athlete. I don't look at you as my dad. I look at you as if I was coaching you, would I play you or would I bench you? That's how I look at it. But there was a 2-week period around that age where I didn't think he was that into it. And so the effort wasn't there. But I think once we got back on the same page, everything kind of since then it's been smooth sailing when it comes to that. He's 100% in. He's willing to do whatever he has to do, not just for himself to win, but for the team to win.
I mean, for me, not wanting to play baseball, that's not even in my head. I've loved this sport since day one, and I don't think I can ever stop loving the sport. Even on a bad day, I might say I hate baseball, but at the end of the day, I laugh. I'm like, I can't even say that with a straight face. I love this sport, man.
That's
So
awesome.
not playing is it's really not even in my head.
Yeah, your mom knows how much I love baseball. And people who follow me on Twitter, or X as it's called now, they know how this game can take you through a roller coaster ride. And my team is Houston, the Astros, my hometown. And when they're doing well, I'm all excited. And when they're not doing well, like so far this season, I'll just tweet something like, I hate baseball. And they know my team lost that day. But it's a roller coaster ride, and you ride along with it. You take the ups with the downs and the good with the bad, and you just keep going forward because it's something that you enjoy and it brings ultimate joy to your life. And so I'm glad that you are so committed to the game. So let's talk about high school versus travel baseball. What do you value about each one? And this can be for any or all of you.
Well, I think we've been in a situation where Aaron Graves, the head coach of Riverdale, he's kind of made high school baseball into travel ball. For example, this season, 3 trips, Memphis, Myrtle Beach, Chattanooga, all within the season, to start the season, midway through the season, and to end the season. And so that kind of reminds me of the travel ball. We're all over the place up and down the East Coast, but I guess what Aaron has done is he's made a way that we're going to showcase even during our baseball season. Even if it's not locally, we're going to showcase just like we're playing travel ball so that you can kind of, one thing I like about him is that, and one thing I pride myself in is I've always told Dixon that when you're 10, you play like you're 12. When you're 13 before high school, you play like you're in high school. Now that you've been committed to Georgetown, you start to get in the mindset of what a college player is going to do. And so what Graves has done is he's kind of incorporated that into the regular season and made, because travel ball is the closest thing you can get to actually playing pro baseball or minor league baseball, because you're on the road, you're being a professional. Aaron doesn't, specify that the parents need to stay with the team when they go, to Chattanooga or wherever they go. And I think that's the best thing for him, because it puts him in a business mindset. And I like that, because, yeah, you let your kids be kids, but I think that there's some things that as a community, as Black folks, we don't necessarily educate our children until it's too late. And even if it's something like, and I know this is off topic, it could be credit. We don't necessarily educate each other about what credit is until our kids are 22, when they should be educated about that when they're 16. And so I like the progressive steps and young people learning what it's like, or the responsibilities of being an adult before they're an adult, because it kind of helps them transition over. And I think that's what our high school travel ball experience has been. It's been one smooth transition into what life could really be like.
And so it's just interesting too, because we are still getting the character, camaraderie, that community that to me is high school baseball, right?
Definitely.
So you get that. And because travel it's very competitive, it's a high level of diversity, of exposure to competition, which is, I think, the point of travel ball. So we are getting both. The other thing that Coach Graves instills in the boys is, they do study hall on the road. He's preparing them for what it will be like if you're going to be a college athlete, right? You got to study on the road. You got to, do your homework on the bus. Make sure where you have Wi-Fi. If you can't connect, communicate with your teachers, whatever it is, right? Creating that environment to set them up for success as college athletes, which he's had all but one player go to college on academic and athletic scholarships. So it's clearly a focus. And again, we know we're sort of in a special situation when it comes to that. So we are getting the high school, but the traditional high school character, camaraderie, development. And then with travel, though, again, it's the exposure and that diversity that you really can't replace, that you need in order to be able to compete at higher levels.
For high school ball, it's really more family oriented for me, because me and the guys get together. I see the guys every day at school in the halls. We laugh it up, things like that. And high school ball, so I get to really see my coaches regularly, and I love those guys every day. And then, but for travel ball, I don't got to worry about school. I can just go out in the heat down south playing ball, and I just really love travel ball a lot. It's the eyes on you, the pressure, but it's still not pressure at the same time. It's just a bunch of fun.
And they're both necessary. Like, if you really want to be successful, I think, at the next level, or to be a well-rounded player. So you have to have that. But I would hope that either environment is trying to keep players healthy and, considers their well-being first.
All right. So did your family have any recruitment help, either from coaches or from organizations that do recruitment?
So I have to say, I know Dixon answered some of it with having such a great situation with Coach Graves, Coach Burris, and Coach Crozier, truly advocating for him, not just to Georgetown. They happen to have a relationship with Georgetown, but I cannot express enough how much Coach Graves, again, makes sure that every one of his players has the opportunity, at least, to get academic and athletic scholarships, because, it's baseball in college. They don't really offer full rides for baseball. But it's relentless. It really is, the amount of support he gives to all players, not just to Dixon. But baseball in itself, right? It really is a small community. They do have a network. So the time and energy, though, that Coach Graves, and he even made sure we had someone on his coaching staff that was dedicated to corresponding consistently with coaches, to make sure that, that line of communication, that the relationships are built so that all of our players have options and opportunities. So we've been fortunate not to have to reach out further beyond what our network happens to be, which are just really supportive coaches who will do anything for the kids.
And my wife's not giving herself enough credit. She's really been remarkable when it comes to posting things, to get Dixon seen, whether it's on his Twitter page, but she just keeps her nose, in it. And she knows more about local athletes, national athletes, than probably everybody in this house when it comes to baseball because, when it comes to the social media thing, she's all in it. She's making sure that, she's not only getting his posts, but, even his friends' posts, she's getting them, I guess. I don't know all the terms that they use, but she's making sure that he's reposting them on his page and things like that. So, she doesn't give herself enough credit. There's some things that have come up on my feeds that I was like, where did this come from? And it was her. But, once the coaches put little tools out there for her to use, she took extreme advantage of it to make sure that we use it to the max.
And so then I would say that Coach Graves and Coach Crozier have made sure that the boys have, recruitment platforms where we can post, right? So that they can be seen and have that sort of regular exposure so that college coaches can quickly see footage of the players. So again, they did provide the platforms, but I'm just doing what a mom would do to make sure.
Yeah, but I know you're extra. Well, I want to explain something to the audience here. You mentioned baseball scholarships, and I want to explain how it's a little bit different in NCAA. So there are two, as far as I know, two different groupings. There's head count sports, and then there are equivalency sports. And baseball is an equivalency sport where Division I believe now it's 12, the equivalent of 12 scholarships for a roster, and they're generally divided among a roster of 35 players. So unless you're about to become a top of the first round draft choice, you're probably not getting a full scholarship. You're going to get a partial scholarship, and that's where the academics come in. If you're a good athlete and a good student, you're going to get scholarship money for sports and for academics. And so that's where that combination comes in. Whereas the headcount sports are football and basketball and a couple of others, where if you're a scholarship athlete on that team, you get a full scholarship. So that's the head count. So if you got 40 full scholarships, 40 players on that team, they're all getting a full scholarship. So that's one of the differences between baseball and football and basketball. And sometimes we talked about the lack of black players in Division I. Sometimes that's part of the problem. Like if you go to a school that costs $40,000 a year and you're getting a $10,000 scholarship, that's still $30,000. You've got to figure out a way to make up the gap.
Right. And then there are NAIA schools that, are more financially supportive, right? But, you have to weigh that with, whatever desires you have in a school, if it can meet that as well. So.
Right. All right. So Dexter, you played college football. So was there ever a time that you wish Dixon had chosen football instead of baseball?
Well, so I love baseball, although I played football. I grew up in Southeast DC where there weren't chances for me to play baseball. Football, I think, in our urban areas has always been the cheaper sport to push the kids to. You buy equipment, you can recycle that equipment for 10 years. You can have a kid wearing shoulder pads, different kids wearing shoulder pads for a decade. Baseball being a more expensive sport, you're not necessarily passing down gloves and bats. And they get expensive. So I never, I went and tried out for baseball maybe 1 year, junior year. I really couldn't hit. But what I later realized in life was that, this is something that you need to pick up early. Also, I want to say that baseball is a father-son sport. People don't understand it when you say it, but it's really in the backyard, playing catch, different angles that you're throwing the ball from, having conversations while playing catch because it's such a cerebral sport. So I never felt any kind of way. My oldest son played football, all the way through high school. So I never felt any kind of way about him playing baseball because I love baseball. I mean, I'm a big-time Yankee fan. So I've always loved baseball, but I never I was never able to get into it from the ground up, as a young kid. And like I said before, once I saw that his hand-eye coordination was built for this sport, it was a no-brainer. It wasn't even an afterthought. I never wished that he could play football, and I always said that if he did play football, he'd only be playing quarterback. So that's how that went.
Yeah, baseball is a tough sport. Well, it's a tough sport when you start at any age. It's really a tough sport when you don't start until you're a teenager. My son played travel soccer and just played rec baseball, so just a few games a year until he was 14. And the summer before going into high school, he decided he wanted to play baseball. And I think partially he decided because he thought that's what I wanted for him. He was not passionate about baseball, but he was good at it. And he started playing the summer before high school. He made his high school team, was recruited. He still wasn't passionate about it, but he wanted to follow through. And I emphasized to him that pick a school where you would go if you were not an athlete. Don't go to school just because you like the coach, because the coach may not be there that long, and you could get injured. And then what are you going to do? All of those things happened. We had to experience all of those things. So right before he went to college, he broke his leg, and then he tore his rotator cuff and had to have 2 surgeries. And so he never actually got to play a single game in college. He was on the team his freshman year, and wasn't ever cleared to play. Had surgery. Sophomore year, he played fall ball, the fall league, and then decided he wanted to focus on school. He was a mechanical engineering major, and he said it was having to put in all that work and then not playing. They were literally practicing like it was a job. They were like 30 hours a week of practice. And then he was an engineering major where they had 5 or 6 hours of homework a day. So he decided he couldn't do both. And it didn't surprise me because, like I said, baseball was not his passion. He played it because he was good at it. And so I'm really glad to hear that that's Dixon's passion, and he's also good at it. So the combination of those two things together should take him far. And since he's still just an 11th grader, you still have 2 more summers before you go off to college, Dixon. Do you anticipate keeping the same kind of summer schedule that you previously played?
This summer I'm going to play for Express again with my coach Eric Crozier. But definitely during my senior summer, I'm gonna get in the collegiate fall league and really adjust myself to college baseball so I can be ready first day on campus, ready to ball out for Coach Thompson.
And that's the point, right? We're not delusional about what it's going to require, not only to play at the Division I level, but to play any sort of level of college baseball. The amount of talent that exists at the collegiate level, as well as just the physical expectations. They're different, they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. Everything is elevated and probably 10 times what he's experiencing right now, and he needs exposure to that. So it's nonstop. He'll be in the gym nonstop as well with his trainer, Selton Hodge. Shout out to Selton, Elite Zone Fitness in Temple Hills, Maryland. Selton's wonderful with him. So he'll be working really hard, but he'll also be taking some college level online courses because that doesn't stop either.
No sleep for you, Dixon. All right, I just have a couple of questions left. So, Dixon, this is for you specifically. So, what has it been like for your high school team this spring? And have you noticed any additional pressure to prove anything? Or are you more relaxed because your recruiting process is already behind you?
This spring, we got a younger squad this year. So, really, and I mean, it's going to be the squad for the future. So, we're really trying to adjust to that. But it hasn't been as bad as I thought it would be. It's definitely taking a positive turn, which I'm happy about. And then for any additional pressure, really, I like to prove myself that I can do certain things. And because I know there's high expectations around me, things like that. And if I don't meet them, I kind of disappoint myself, and I don't ever like to do that. So really the additional pressure part, it always plays a part in my game. But I mean, as I've grown older, it's it hasn't been in the forefront of my mind as much. And then I definitely am more relaxed because I don't have to email coaches constantly anymore. I don't have to worry about how I play in front of this coach because I know at the end of the day, I got my guy Coach Thompson up at Georgetown.
All right. So this is the final question, and it's for all of you. So, what's been the most unexpected part of the recruiting process for you?
For me, I did not expect him to commit to a school so soon. I thought we had a little bit more time. I thought he would at least get to play his junior season before we really started to have to weigh the decision a bit more. I'm grateful that it has happened the way that it has. I just didn't expect it to go this way. I don't know if I agree with him about the pressure and the recruitment. You know, on the outside looking in, I did want him to play a bit more freely, knowing that he had a home, right? That he didn't have to think about so much. He works so hard. He continues to do that. But I do think that there's pressure for him to want to keep it, right? Or he's developing also as well. The mental part that you don't always see in the development is definitely I see happening. But it weighs into the recruitment process, as I explained. I just think he knew going into junior season before he committed to Georgetown that this was going to be a big season, right? I would hear him say, "Man, this is going to be a big season. There's certain things I have to do." And to be honest, he had such a great sophomore season that I wondered if the expectations of that, right, building on that also played into certain things. But to get recruited based on that sophomore season, essentially, and of course, and the other bodies of his work, to get recruited based on that and his sophomore summer says a lot. And he has a lot to be proud of. But again, I just didn't expect it to happen so soon. I thought we had a little bit more time to really weigh options and to see if I could get Northwestern in there. But it's all good.
It's too cold to play baseball in Chicago.
One more plug, right? I really didn't want him to be playing in the cold, but it's all, yeah. And so that's just that. He's been prepared. He's been working hard to be a part of this process. So I was never worried about how it would play out. Just again, the when is what shocked me.
For me, I kind of think it went as expected. Because the way I put things in perspective is I like to do things in my mind 3 to 4 years down the road. And I felt like everything that we were doing outside of what the team was doing was going to have him ready, and he was going to be able to display things, whether it was just his IQ on the field or, his strength, whatever, his awareness, whatever, he was going to be able to display what a college athlete is supposed to embody. So for me, to be honest with you, the process went kind of how I expected it to go. When things were presented to us, they were kind of no-brainer for me. This is just the route we were going to take. I felt like this was the route that was going to be presented to us. And, at the end of the day, you put in the work, whether it's on the field or in the classroom, good things are going to happen. You don't have to be at the best school in high school to one day be, go to Harvard. You don't have to. You could be at a public school, in an urban city, but if you're that kid that's going to put in that work academically, somebody's going to notice you. I'm a true believer in that. I'm a true believer in you can create your own opportunities. So for me, it kind of went as expected.
The most unexpected part for me was probably just the speed of everything. It feels like just yesterday I was emailing coaches, sitting down with my mom, thinking about, what should I say to this guy? What should I say to this coach? How will this coach respond to this? But now I'm in my junior year. I don't have to worry about any of that. So the speed of it just really came to me quick. But at the same time, I'm happy for it. I'm grateful for it. And then,
Okay, so that's the last question I have for you. I just want to say again, thank you to the three of you for joining me today. I'm really excited that I could have all three of you here on this episode and talk about this issue. And again, Dixon, I wish you all the best. I look forward to following your career from afar,
Thank
at least until you reach the majors, and then I'll come to your games and I'll be calling your publicist and asking for tickets.
That'll be me.
Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't want to say it, but I figured you would be. So thank you to all three of you for being here today.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Melvin, for the opportunity.
Thank you.
We wish you well. We hope your podcast grows infinitely. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. So that's it for this week's episode of Stories from Real Life. Join us again next time for another great storytelling journey. Until then, don't forget to shine your light wherever you go. That was Stories from Real Life with your host, Melvin E. Edwards. Join us again next time for another great storytelling journey. See you then.